When people talk about Thomas Edison today, they often remember only one thing: his rivalry with Nikola Tesla. In popular culture, Edison is frequently portrayed as the villain, the businessman who fought against innovation, the man who opposed Tesla's vision of the future. And while there is some truth to that story, it is far from the whole story. Because if Nikola Tesla was the dreamer who imagined the future, Thomas Edison was the builder who helped make it possible. He was not a perfect man. He could be stubborn, competitive, and deeply controversial. But he was also one of the most influential inventors and entrepreneurs in human history. A man whose work helped bring electricity, recorded sound, and motion pictures into everyday life. This is the story of Thomas Edison, the man who didn't just invent technology, he built entire industries. Not every great inventor begins life as a prodigy. Some begin with disadvantages that seem impossible to overcome. Thomas Edison was one of them. As a child, Edison struggled in school. His teachers considered him slow and difficult to teach. After only a few months of formal education, he was removed from the classroom. For many children, that might have been the end of their academic journey. Fortunately, Edison had something more valuable than a traditional education. He had a mother who believed in him. Instead of accepting the school's judgment, she took responsibility for his education herself. She encouraged his curiosity, fed his imagination, and taught him to believe in his own potential. Years later, Edison would credit much of his success to her unwavering support. Under his mother's guidance, he developed a love for reading. He consumed books relentlessly: history, science, philosophy, chemistry, anything he could get his hands on. One book in particular sparked his fascination with experimental science. Soon, curiosity turned into obsession. Edison began conducting experiments at home. Using his small savings, he purchased chemicals and built a miniature laboratory in the family's basement. His passion for discovery was growing, but experiments required money, and money was something the young Edison didn't have. At just 12 years old, he convinced his parents to let him work. He began selling newspapers and snacks aboard trains traveling between Port Huron and Detroit. Most children his age were attending school. Edison was already learning business, learning sales, learning how the real world worked. During quiet moments, he continued conducting experiments in a makeshift laboratory inside a train's baggage car. He even launched his own newspaper, one of the first newspapers ever printed on a moving train. The young boy who had been labeled a failure by his teachers was quietly developing the skills that would define his future. The turning point in Edison's life arrived unexpectedly. One day, while working near a railway station, he noticed a young boy standing on the tracks. A train was approaching rapidly. Without hesitation, Edison rushed forward and pulled the child to safety. The boy's father happened to be a telegraph operator. Grateful for Edison's courage, he offered to teach him telegraphy. At the time, telegraph operators occupied one of the most technologically advanced professions in the world. Edison learned quickly. Soon he became a skilled telegraph operator himself. The profession allowed him to travel, earn money, and gain valuable technical knowledge. More importantly, it introduced him to the world of communication technology, the world that should eventually launch his career as an inventor. In 1884, Tesla arrived in New York City with little money and few possessions. What he did have was a letter of recommendation addressed to the most famous inventor in America, Thomas Edison. Tesla quickly found work in Edison's company, The young immigrant worked tirelessly, solving difficult engineering problems and improving electrical equipment. At first, Tesla admired Edison, but the two men viewed electricity very differently. Edison was committed to direct current. Tesla believed alternating current represented the future. As their disagreements grew, tensions increased. Eventually, Tesla left Edison's company. For a time, life became extremely difficult. The brilliant inventor found himself digging ditches simply to survive. Many people would have given up. Tesla did not. He remained convinced that his ideas would one day transform the world. This ability to think beyond individual inventions became Edison's greatest strength. The world has always had brilliant inventors, but very few possess the ability to transform an invention into an industry. Edison could see connections others missed. He understood that technology, business, infrastructure, and consumer needs were all part of the same system. While others focused on invention alone, Edison focused on implementation. He asked practical questions. Can this be manufactured? Can ordinary people use it? Can it be profitable? Can it scale? This systems thinking mindset allowed him to bridge the gap between innovation and everyday life. It is one of the reasons his influence extended far beyond any single invention. Throughout his life, Edison accumulated more than 1,000 patents in the United States and hundreds more internationally. His inventions included improvements in electric lighting, sound recording, motion pictures, telecommunications, and industrial equipment. Yet perhaps his most important contribution was not a specific invention. It was a new way of inventing. At his laboratories, teams of engineers, scientists, and technicians worked together toward common goals. This collaborative approach became the foundation of modern industrial research and development. Today, nearly every major technology company follows a similar model. In many ways, Edison helped invent the modern innovation laboratory itself. His businesses eventually evolved into major corporations. Among them was the company that would later become General Electric, one of the world's largest industrial organizations. Great individuals are rarely flawless. Edison was no exception. His rivalry with Tesla revealed some of his darker traits. Determined to protect his direct current system, Edison sometimes resorted to tactics that remain controversial today. History should not ignore these mistakes, but neither should those mistakes erase everything else. Human beings are complex. The same man capable of fierce competition was also capable of extraordinary dedication. The same man who fought aggressively for his ideas also spent decades improving technologies that transformed everyday life. To understand Edison fully, we must acknowledge both sides of the story. One of the people most deeply influenced by Edison was Henry Ford. Long before Ford became a household name, he was an unknown engineer experimenting with gasoline-powered vehicles. Many doubted his vision. Edison did not. After listening to Ford explain his ideas, Edison reportedly slammed his hand on the table and said, "Young man, you've got it. Keep at it." Those few words changed Ford's life. Years later, Ford would describe Edison as one of his greatest inspirations. The two men became close friends. Their relationship revealed another side of Edison, a mentor, a supporter, a man willing to recognize potential in others. Today, Edison's influence is everywhere. Every illuminated city skyline, every recorded song, every motion picture, every electrical network. His fingerprints remain embedded in modern civilization. Even Tesla, despite their rivalry, acknowledged Edison's extraordinary persistence and determination. The two men approached innovation differently. Tesla imagined the future. Edison built the systems that brought technology into people's homes. History often presents them as opposites. In reality, the modern world needed both. One was the visionary, the other was the builder. Together, they helped shape the technological age. Thomas Edison was not a perfect man. He made mistakes. He sparked controversy, and he left behind debates that continue to this day. But he also demonstrated the power of persistence, discipline, and practical innovation. More than 1,000 patents, entire industries, technologies that transform daily life, and a legacy that still surrounds us more than a century later. Perhaps Edison's greatest achievement was not inventing a single device. It was proving that ideas alone are never enough. Real change happens when ideas are built, refined, and brought into the hands of ordinary people. And few people in history did that better than Thomas Edison.